It's been a very long time since I've done like a proper trailer breakdown, but considering how excited I am for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I couldn't help but do an in-depth breakdown of this trailer. Now, I want it to be known that this game isn't coming out for a very long time. This game's not coming out until 2022. It's coming out so far away from now that it's probably not even going to be on this generation of consoles. It's probably going to be exclusive to next gen, which is probably good news for those of us who are getting next gen consoles, because it probably means this game's not going to be limited in any way. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. We want to break down this trailer. Now, it's possible I'm going to miss a reference or two, or it's possible I'll point out a building and I'll be like, hey, that kind of looks like a reference, but I don't know what it's referencing exactly. And that's where I hope you guys will be able to contribute to the video in the comment section. If there's a piece of DC lore that I don't know about, you yourself can go to the comment section and contribute, just in case I missed it. Now, before we jump into every single piece of detail that I noticed in this trailer, I very much appreciate it if you took your time to subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot when new subscribers come in. And if you're already a subscriber, be sure to leave a like on the video, because that helps more than you know. All right, let's jump in. The trailer opens up with a shot of Brainiac's skull ship. Even if you only play DC games and you're not familiar with the comic books or the larger pieces of work, you'll recognize this from Injustice 2. Brainiac was the main villain of that game, so we got to see a lot of his lore, and it looks like he's going to be heavily involved in the plot of this game as well, so it should be very familiar to those who played Injustice. Metropolis, confirming the location of Metropolis. As the camera pans down, we get to take a look at quite a bit of different things. We can see a Daily Planet billboard in the background. There's kind of like these weird structures with this M logo on it. I don't know what that is. At first, I thought it might have something to do with Maxwell, but I did some research into his character and I couldn't find anything that connected to it. So if you know what this M is, let us know, because it pops up a couple different times in this trailer. And there's also this billboard that says, all dressed up, no place to go, north. And then I think it says repairs in the middle. I couldn't find what this was a reference to at all, so if you have any idea, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Just a couple seconds later, we get a look at some more signs. We get a Big Belly Burger on the left-hand side. Big Belly Burger is a fast food restaurant inside of the DC lore. You've seen this if you watch the CW shows or really any piece of DC extended media. $1 Coffee Shop. This is actually like a thing in the DC universe as well. Nice uses of some shout-outs there. There's some more stuff on that screen, but don't worry, we'll get to it later. As the camera scrolls down, we get our first look at Harley Quinn, but additionally, we see something from S.T.A.R Labs. I can't quite make out what that is, but it's definitely from S.T.A.R Laboratories, and there's some numbers and some letters, so it might be some type of code that we can figure out, but I'm not going to get into all of that. At first, I thought it was just a coffee mug, but it doesn't look like one. As Harley Quinn's pizza gets knocked down to the ground, we can see that it's from a pizza place called Dollar Slice. While there is no current history of Dollar Slice in the DC universe, at least from what I could tell through my research, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that the Sun Dollar brand has expanded itself and made themselves a new pizza place. This is not a particularly important piece of detail, but Harley Quinn's t-shirt says Harley the Queen. At first I thought it said Harley the Ego Queen, but those are just some love hearts next to the word the. Tara Strong reprising her role as Harley Quinn. While it's never explicitly confirmed, given the fact that Harley Quinn refers to her as boss, we can assume that she's talking to Amanda Waller. In this next shot, we get to see quite a lot of the props that are going to be used later in this trailer. We can see this cupcake. Harley Quinn will use that later. There's a grenade right behind it that also gets used by Harley Quinn later. There's what I thought was a beer can, but I think it's just a cola. And then on the far right-hand side, this is actually Captain Boomerang's gun. I thought it was going to be Harley Quinn's, but it is in fact Captain Boomerang's, and I'll point out why in just a moment. As the camera pans up, we get our reveal of Deadshot, Mr. Floyd Lawton. Oh my god, there is so much in this one shot, so give me a moment to go through it. We can see that Captain Boomerang's weapon has an Australian flag on it. Pretty nice shout out to Australia. The Suicide Squad has already been beating up some of the Brainiac drones, both here on the table and even on the roof of this pizza place. We can see that King Shark has a gun. He'll be using that later. And these balloons shout out to some of the heroes that might possibly be in this game. We can see a Green Lantern balloon and a Batman balloon. Now, what's strange about that is this game is apparently set in the same world as the Arkham games. I say apparently, it's been practically 100% confirmed. The CEO of the company has specifically said that the game is set in the world of the Arkhamverse, and the most recent trailer for Gotham Knights implies that Bruce Wayne is dead. So unless in Gotham Knights they are just lying to us and Bruce Wayne turns out to be alive at the end of the game or halfway through the game, or perhaps maybe somebody at the end of the game takes up the mantle of Batman. Either way, something weird's going on there. I always assumed that this game would just take place outside of the Arkhamverse, but it has been confirmed that this is the Arkhamverse, which means they're going to need an explanation for Bruce Wayne. We shall see where they go with that. I'm guessing that either in Arkham Knights he turns out to be alive, or Suicide Squad is taking place before the events of Arkham Knights. In the background of this scene, we can see a hotel sign. sign. Another sign here, I can't quite make out what that says, and a couple other signs that we'll see later in the trailer, so I won't bother pointing them out. We can also see one of Brainiac's drones making their way toward the team, and a shot of Superman flying around in the background. In this shot, we get a much better idea of what this sign says behind Floyd Lawton. It says Motel Bonnies. I couldn't find anything in reference to that in DC's lore. There are two characters with the name Bonnie. One is Miss Arrowette, which is like a Green Arrow fangirl, and then Bonnie Baxter, who's of course the partner of Rip Hunter. Perhaps maybe there is supposed to be a reference here to those two characters or one of those two characters, but who knows? The Suicide Squad talks back and forth for a little bit, and we don't get anything interesting, at least reference-wise, for the next 20-ish seconds. But at 2 minutes and 3 seconds, we get to dive into a pretty awesome action sequence, and we get quite a few references on the way there. First of all, we get a look at this logo that says Street Demons. Street Demons is actually the name of a motorcycle gang in the DC universe. Brave New World is the name of a classic comic book one-shot. Brave New World served as kind of like an introduction to what would happen after Infinite Crisis. It was originally an 80-page one-shot, and it was only priced at $1. The idea is that it would give you a sample of a few different projects they were working on. I believe that this sign is just referencing that. Now we get to talk about some gameplay stuff, which is what I'm super interested in. In this scene, we can see King Shark wielding 2 different machetes as he jumps at this one poor drone. Harley Quinn begins to fly in on a zip line, and she's using a shotgun in this scene. That's going to be important for later when we talk about her other weapons. And Deadshot's using machine guns out of his wrists. Again, that'll possibly be important in a moment. Captain Boomerang is moving really fast in this scene. It's one of the most surprising moments from the entire trailer for me. Some people have asked if he's using the Speed Force here, and I certainly think that's a possibility, though I wouldn't jump to that as my first conclusion. If you take a really close look here, he's actually catching his boomerang as he runs to this location. And the same can be said for the next shots that we're going to be taking a look at. My guess is that he's able to run super fast to his boomerang, or even just straight up teleport to it. Alright, in this scene, we get a much better idea of how Captain Boomerang is actually moving around. There's a lot to talk about here, so bear with me. He throws his boomerang, which kind of draws like a circle around the Brainiac drones, and then once it gets past all of those drones, Captain Boomerang again either teleports or runs really fast to that same location. Not only that, but the boomerang also appears to be setting up a line of explosives, which he then detonates with his boomerang. Pretty damn awesome if you ask me. In the same shot, we can see Harley Quinn freely swinging around on a grappling hook. Perhaps this hints at some type of movement system similar to a character like Batman in the Arkham series, or even a character like Spider-Man. I think that type of movement for Harley Quinn would be really fun, and I hope that's what they're hinting at here. In the very next shot, Harley Quinn jumps off of that grappling hook to do a quick little combo against one of these drones, at the end of which she places an explosive cupcake to the target's head. This animation very much reminds me of any of the takedowns from the Arkham series, so it wouldn't surprise me if we end up with a similar system in this game, being the same developer and all. King Shark has a minigun, and that's fantastic. Deadshot's using his sniper rifle for the first time in the trailer, and there's some type of bakery down here. I couldn't make out what that says, so if you know that bakery from some deep, dark pits of the DC lore, let me know. Also really fun here, Deadshot uses his jetpack as a weapon, burning some of these drones to a crisp. That's pretty gnarly, and I hope that's an ability in the game. Not to keep drilling down on the same point, but we can see Captain Boomerang moving around at super speed or teleporting, again, directly to his boomerang. He's never off-center, he's always going directly to that boomerang. So I'm guessing that's how they'll limit his movement. In the background of that shot, we can see King Shark getting ready to jump. King Shark does 4 front flips before landing. Yes, I counted. Harley Quinn is using her pistol for the very first time in this trailer. Harley Quinn uses her grappling hook offensively, possibly something we're going to be able to do in game. There's quite a bit to look at in this shot, so let's get through it. This building looks particularly important. When I first saw it, I thought it might be the Daily Planet, but I couldn't notice any logos or anything like that, so maybe it's not the Daily Planet, maybe it is the Daily Planet. Who knows? This building off to the right with kind of a green texture on the top of it looks important to me, but I don't recognize it. And on the far right, you can notice a billboard that says Krypton on it, and it's licensed by Blaze Comics. We'll talk more about that one in just a moment. In this next shot, Captain Boomerang's just about to jump in frame, but before he does, we can see 2 pretty important signs. We can see Lex Corp. That's a nice reference, regardless of whether or not Lex makes it into this game or not. And then Blaze Comics. Blaze Comics are, of course, fictional, but they are the people who published the in-universe Booster Gold comic books, and it's pretty nice to see them referenced wherever possible. I'm not exactly sure what to make of this, but I just noticed it while I'm editing. Earlier on in the trailer, there was also this shot near like an air vent where you could see kind of like a bat logo with a Joker laugh underneath it, so I don't know if there's going to be some gang that uses that as their logo, or maybe the Joker is back in the Arkham world or something like that. I have no idea what that could mean, but I guarantee you that it's relevant in the game. And the rest of the trailer just kind of plays out. I don't see any references in here at all, other than, of course, there's some obvious ones that we don't need to point out, right? Superman's eyes are purple, which is not normal. One would assume that means he's underneath Brainiac's control, which would also explain why he decided to randomly disintegrate a random pilot. But there you go. That's everything I noticed from the Suicide Squad trailer. There's a lot in there. One thing that I already talked about, but I guess I didn't go into detail about it, is that so far, characters have had 3 weapons, or up to 3 weapons, I should say. Harley Quinn used her baseball bat, she used a pistol and a shotgun. So that's 3 weapons. Deadshot used a sniper rifle, and he used machine guns on his wrist. Though the developer after the trailer said that he will be able to use like shotguns as melee weapons, basically. So far, it sounds like characters have up to 3 weapons. Now, maybe they're going to have more than 3 weapons, but at the very least so far, we can say that some characters have at least 3 weapons, which is pretty exciting to know that there's going to be that much variance in combat. It's hard to say what that means in the end. You know, if a character has a baseball bat and they also have a mallet, how different is that going to make their combat? Well, that's for us to find out at a later date, I guess. One thing I would be worried about is if development time is spent on things like that, you know, allowing characters to have different melee weapons and different ranged weapons. I mean, we've seen King Shark use a minigun and 2 machetes. If development time is spent on stuff like that, that probably means there's less development time spent on different characters. And we all know that I love additional characters. So I'd be a little bit disappointed to find out that that was the result of, you know, multiple different weapons in combat. But at the end of the day, as long as we end up with a decent character roster, I'm not going to be too disappointed. In fact, I'm probably going to be over the moon about being able to use all of these characters with all of these different movesets. So, you know, there's certain trade-offs to development. It is how it is. One thing I wanted to do for this video is name each of the voice actors for each of the characters, and I wasn't able to do that because I couldn't find the information. I really like the idea of crediting voice actors more often. I feel like they don't get the credit they deserve, and I wanted to be able to do that in this video, but I simply just couldn't find the information, and I didn't recognize any of the voice actors besides, of course, Tara Strong. As soon as that information's passed on to me, though, I'll leave a pinned comment on this video crediting each of the voice actors, because so far, there has been excellent performances in this game. I think King Shark's doing a great job, whoever that is, and especially whoever's playing Captain Boomerang is doing a great job. All right, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of my breakdown of the Suicide Squad trailer. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with more DC content. My name is Bilbzy, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next one.